The stars looked different this far from home. Captain Daniel Morgan stood on the bridge of the Liberty Dawn, watching the swirling colors of the distant nebula through the main viewing window. His crew had been traveling for 6 months, pushing deeper into space than any human had gone before. They were explorers, scientists, and dreamers, all hoping to answer one simple question: were humans alone in the universe? The answer came on a Tuesday morning, ship time. Lieutenant Karen Phillips was at her station, monitoring the communication arrays when the screen lit up with patterns she had never seen before. Her hands moved quickly across the controls, trying to make sense of the data. The patterns were too organized to be natural, too complex to be random noise. "Captain," she said, her voice steady despite the excitement racing through her, "I think we have something." Daniel crossed the bridge in 3 quick steps. He leaned over her shoulder, studying the display. The patterns repeated in sequences, like a message or a signal. His heart began to beat faster. "How far away?" he asked. 20,000 kilometers and closing," Karen replied. "Whatever it is, it's big. Really big." Commander Lisa Grant, the first officer, activated the long-range sensors. The image that appeared on the main screen made everyone on the bridge fall silent. A massive structure floated in space ahead of them, easily 10 times the size of their ship. It was built from materials that seemed to shimmer and change color, covered in lights that pulsed in rhythmic patterns. "Is that a ship?" someone whispered. "It's a station," Lisa said, her voice filled with wonder. "An alien space station." The crew erupted into excited chatter. They had done it. They had found proof of intelligent life. But the excitement quickly turned to nervousness. What if the aliens were hostile? What if they didn't want to be found? Daniel raised his hand for silence. "Calm down, everyone. Karen, can you send a greeting message? Use the standard first contact protocols." Karen's fingers flew across her keyboard. She sent out a simple mathematical sequence, the kind that any intelligent species would recognize. Then they waited. The seconds felt like hours. The bridge was so quiet that Daniel could hear his own breathing. Then the response came. The alien station sent back the same sequence, but with an addition. It was like they were saying, "We understand. We hear you." Over the next hour, they exchanged more complex messages. Karen worked with Dr. Nicole Hayes and Science Officer Alex Turner to build a basic communication system. The aliens seemed patient, willing to work slowly to bridge the language gap. Finally, a message came through that the ship's computer could translate, though roughly. "Welcome, travelers from Earth. We have been watching you. Please come closer. We mean no harm." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. They had been watching Earth? For how long? He pushed the worry aside. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. "Take us in slowly," he ordered the pilot, Marcus Webb. "Nice and easy." The Liberty Dawn approached the massive station carefully. As they got closer, they could see smaller ships docked at various ports. Each one looked different, built with unique designs and materials. This wasn't just one alien species. This was many. A docking port opened on the station, perfectly sized for their ship. Marcus guided them in with expert precision. The clamps locked into place with a gentle thud. They had arrived. Daniel stood up and straightened his uniform. "Lisa, Nicole, Karen, you're with me. Alex, you have the bridge. If anything goes wrong, get the ship out of here immediately." "Understood, Captain," Alex replied, though his face showed he hoped it wouldn't come to that. The 4 of them made their way to the airlock. Security Chief Laura Bennett met them there, along with Sergeant Jake Coleman. Laura insisted on coming for protection, though Daniel hoped it wouldn't be needed. The airlock opened and they stepped into a corridor that seemed to glow with soft blue light. The walls were smooth and warm to the touch. The gravity felt slightly lighter than on their ship, making each step feel a bit bouncy. At the end of the corridor stood a figure. It was tall and thin, with skin that looked almost translucent, showing faint patterns of light moving beneath the surface. It had 4 arms and large dark eyes that seemed kind and curious. The creature wore robes that floated around its body as if underwater. "Greetings," the alien said, and somehow they could understand it. A small device on its chest was translating. "I am Ambassador Velrith of the Zephrani people. Welcome to Concordance Prime, the heart of our alliance." Daniel stepped forward and extended his hand, then realized the alien might not understand the gesture, but Velrith reached out with one of its 4 hands and gently touched Daniel's palm. I am Captain Daniel Morgan of Earth. We come in peace, hoping to learn and to share knowledge. Velrith's face shifted in what might have been a smile. Peace, yes, we have much peace here. Come, let me show you our home. You are the first of your kind to visit us, though we have known of your world for many years. They followed Velrith through corridors that seemed to twist and turn in impossible ways. Through windows they could see the vast interior of the station. Gardens floated in the air without any visible support. Buildings seemed to grow organically from the walls. And everywhere there were aliens. Dozens of different species, all moving about their business. Some were tall and covered in fur. Others were small and seemed to be made of something like living crystal. One group looked almost like floating jellyfish drifting through the air. It was beautiful and overwhelming. How many species are part of your alliance? Nicole asked, her medical mind already wondering about the biology of each creature. 17 civilizations are full members of the Concordance, Velrith explained. We have been at peace for over 3,000 years. We share technology, culture, and knowledge. We explore the galaxy together and help each other grow. And you want us to join you? Daniel asked. Perhaps, Velrith said carefully. But first you must undergo the trials of temperament. We must be certain that your species is compatible with our way of life. Some species are too aggressive, too violent. We cannot risk the peace we have built, Karen spoke up. What do these trials involve? Simple evaluations, Velrith assured them. Physical tests, medical examinations, cultural exchanges. We need to understand your people, your biology, your history, your nature. If you pass, Earth will be invited to join the greatest alliance in the galaxy. You will have access to technology beyond your current dreams. Medicine that can cure any disease. Ships that can cross the galaxy in days. Knowledge gathered from thousands of worlds. Daniel looked at his crew. They all nodded. This was what they had come for. This was humanity's chance to join the galactic community. We accept, Daniel said firmly. When do we begin? Velrith's expression shifted again, and this time there was something else in those dark eyes. Something that might have been worry, though Daniel couldn't be sure. Tomorrow, Velrith said. Tonight you rest. Tomorrow we learn what humanity truly is. As they were led to their quarters, none of them noticed the way other aliens moved aside as they passed. None of them saw the concerned looks or heard the worried whispers. They were too excited, too hopeful. They had come to make friends. They had no idea that they were about to terrify an entire galaxy. The morning came with artificial light that gradually brightened in their quarters, mimicking a natural sunrise. Daniel woke feeling refreshed but nervous. Today, humanity would be judged by an alien civilization that had thousands of years of history together. He dressed in his uniform and met his crew in the common area. Lisa was already reviewing data on her tablet. I've been studying what little information we have about the concordant species, she said. Something seems odd. Look at these physical specifications. She showed him the data. The Zephrani averaged about 6 feet tall but weighed only 90 pounds. The Krathi, the insect-like species they had seen yesterday, moved slowly despite having 6 legs. Even the Droon, who looked muscular and strong, had bone density readings that seemed incredibly low. They're also fragile, Nicole observed, joining the conversation. I mean, compared to human standards, the Zephrani skeleton would break under Earth's gravity. Most of these species couldn't survive on our planet for more than a few hours. Maybe they evolved on easier worlds, Karen suggested. Planets with lower gravity, fewer predators, more stable climates. Before they could discuss it further, Ambassador Velrith arrived to escort them to the first trial. The alien seemed cheerful, its translucent skin glowing with soft colors that shifted like aurora lights. Today we begin with a simple physical evaluation, Velrith explained as they walked through the station. We need to understand your body's capabilities. Nothing dangerous, I assure you. Just basic tests of strength, endurance, and reflexes. They entered a large chamber that looked like a gymnasium. Various equipment lined the walls, though much of it looked strange and unfamiliar. A group of aliens stood waiting, each wearing what appeared to be scientific observation gear. They whispered among themselves, studying the humans with obvious curiosity. Who will volunteer to go first? Velrith asked. Jake Coleman stepped forward. I will, sir. He was a soldier, trained and fit, but by human military standards he was completely average. Nothing special, just a regular guy who kept himself in decent shape. The first test was simple. Jake had to run through an obstacle course. There were walls to climb, bars to swing from, and barriers to jump over. He watched as a Crothy demonstrated first. The alien moved carefully, taking almost 10 minutes to complete the course. It finished breathing heavily, clearly exhausted. "Your turn," Velrith said to Jake. Jake nodded and approached the starting line. When the signal came, he took off running. The first wall was about 8 feet high. He jumped, grabbed the top, and pulled himself over easily. The swinging bars were next. He moved from one to another with the rhythm he had learned in basic training. The barriers were simple hurdles. He cleared them without breaking stride. He crossed the finish line and checked his time. 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Not his best performance, but decent. He wasn't even breathing hard. "How'd I do?" he asked. The silence in the room was deafening. Every alien was staring at him. Felrith's skin had gone pale, the colors beneath fading to almost nothing. "You completed the course in less than half the expected time," one of the observers finally said, its voice shaking slightly. "And you appear to be completely unaffected by the exertion." "It wasn't that hard," Jake said honestly. "I mean, it was a good warm-up, I guess." More whispers erupted among the aliens. Jake looked at Daniel, confused. Had he done something wrong? The next test was a strength evaluation. They brought out a device that measured grip strength. Again, a Crothy went first, squeezing the device with all 6 of its limbs. The reading came out at about 60 pounds of force. Jake took the device in one hand and squeezed. The reading shot up to 220 pounds. He had barely tried. "Again," one observer demanded. "Use both hands. Use your full strength." Jake shrugged and squeezed with both hands, really putting effort into it this time. The device's reading maxed out at 500 pounds. Then the machine made a cracking sound. Jake immediately let go, worried he had broken it. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "I didn't mean to damage it, but no one was listening." The aliens were backing away, some of them looking genuinely frightened. Felrith held up a hand to calm everyone. "It's all right," the ambassador said, though its voice wavered. "Let us move on to the medical evaluation." They moved to a medical facility where Nicole was asked to explain human biology and medicine. She stood before a panel of alien doctors and scientists, eager to share knowledge. She pulled up holographic displays showing human anatomy. "The human body is quite resilient," she began. "We have an internal skeleton made of calcium-based bones that can withstand significant stress. Our bones can actually heal themselves if they break." One of the alien doctors, a floating jellyfish-like creature, interrupted. "Excuse me, did you say bones can break and then heal?" "Yes," Nicole said, confused by the question. "It takes about 6 to 8 weeks for a simple fracture, longer for more complex breaks. The bone often becomes stronger at the break point after healing." The alien doctors looked at each other in what could only be described as horror. "On our worlds," another doctor explained slowly, "a broken bone is a death sentence or a permanent disability. Our bones do not heal. They must be replaced with artificial materials if damaged." Nicole felt her stomach drop. "Oh, I didn't realize." "Yes, well, humans break bones fairly regularly, especially children. It's considered a normal part of childhood, actually. Playing sports, climbing trees, that sort of thing." "Children break their bones regularly?" The jellyfish doctor seemed about to faint. "And our immune system," Nicole continued, trying to move past the awkward moment, "is quite robust. Humans are exposed to thousands of different bacteria and viruses throughout childhood. Our bodies learn to fight them off. Most humans experience several illnesses per year as children, building immunity." The alien doctors were making noises of distress. One of them actually left the room. "You allow your young to become infected with diseases?" Felrith asked, its skin now completely colorless. "Not on purpose," Nicole said defensively. "It just happens. Kids get colds, flu, stomach bugs. They recover in a few days usually. It's normal." "How many of your young survive to adulthood?" an alien doctor asked quietly. "About 99% in most developed regions," Nicole answered. The room went completely silent. Finally, one doctor spoke. "On my world, if a child contracts a disease, we have a 40% survival rate even with our best medical technology." "You're saying human children survive diseases 99% of the time with their natural biology alone?" Nicole realized something was very wrong. These aliens weren't just different from humans. They were incredibly, almost impossibly fragile by human standards. That evening, the crew gathered for a cultural exchange dinner. It was supposed to be a friendly meal where they could share stories about their worlds. Marcus, the pilot, was in a good mood. He had spent the day talking with alien engineers about ship designs and had made several friends. So Earth has had quite a history, Marcus said cheerfully, eating something that tasted vaguely like chicken. We've survived a few extinction events, 5 major ice ages, countless wars, natural disasters. You know, the usual stuff. He looked up to see every alien at the table had stopped eating. Velrith was staring at him. Extinction events? The ambassador asked weakly. As in events that killed most life on your planet? Yeah, the dinosaurs got wiped out about 65 million years ago by an asteroid, Marcus said. But life bounced back. It always does on Earth. We're pretty tough. And ice ages? Another alien asked. Sure, the planet gets really cold every 100,000 years or so. Covers everything in ice. Humans actually lived through the last one. We just adapted. And wars. Velrith's voice was barely a whisper now. Marcus realized too late that he might have said something wrong. Well, yeah. Humans have fought each other throughout history. World wars, regional conflicts, all that. But we've been getting better. We've been at peace globally for about 40 years now. Several aliens excused themselves from the table. One was visibly trembling. Marcus looked at Daniel, confused and worried. Did I say something wrong, Captain? Daniel didn't answer. He was watching Velrith, whose skin had gone completely transparent, showing the delicate organs beneath. They had come to show humanity was peaceful and ready to join the galactic community. Instead, they had revealed that humans were something the Concordants had never encountered before. Survivors of a world that tried to kill them every day, with bodies built to endure what would destroy any other known species, and they were only on day 1 of the trials. Daniel couldn't sleep that night. Something was deeply wrong and he needed answers. He left his quarters and found Velrith waiting in the corridor, as if the ambassador had been expecting him. You have questions, Velrith said. It wasn't a question. Why does everyone seem afraid of us? Daniel asked directly. We've done nothing but cooperate. We've been friendly and peaceful. Yet every test seems to make things worse. Velrith gestured for Daniel to follow. They walked through the quiet station until they reached an observation deck. Through the massive windows, they could see 100 different worlds displayed on screens, each one a member or associate of the Concordance. Tell me about Earth, Velrith said softly. What is your world truly like? Daniel thought for a moment. It's beautiful. Oceans, mountains, forests, deserts. The weather can be harsh sometimes. Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, tsunamis. But that's just nature. Life finds a way. Velrith made a sound like a sigh. Let me show you my homeworld. The ambassador pulled up an image of a planet covered in gentle blues and greens. Zephyros. Average temperature varies by only 10 degrees year-round. We have no earthquakes because our planet is geologically dead. Our weather is stable. Our largest predator is the size of your house cat and eats only plants. Our evolution was peaceful. Another image appeared. Karathis Prime. The Karathi evolved in underground caves where temperature never changes and danger never comes. They emerged only after developing technology. Another image. Drunheim. Gravity is 60% of Earth's. The Drune are the strongest species in the Concordance, and they would be crushed on your world within hours. Daniel began to understand. You're saying Earth is unusual? Unusual. Velrith's skin flickered with dark colors. Captain, we have explored 10,000 worlds. We have cataloged 1 million species. Earth is the most hostile inhabited planet we have ever found. By our standards, your world is a nightmare of death and violence. And somehow you not only survived there, but you thrived. The next morning, Alex Turner was asked to present human scientific knowledge. He prepared a presentation about Earth's history, thinking it would be interesting to share. He had no idea what he was about to unleash. Earth is approximately 4.5 billion years old. Alex began showing images of Earth's timeline. Life began about 3.5 billion years ago. Since then, we've had 5 major mass extinction events where over 70% of all species died. The alien scientists were already looking uncomfortable, but Alex continued, oblivious. The dinosaurs, the dominant species before mammals, were wiped out when an asteroid hit Earth with the force of 1 billion nuclear bombs. The impact winter lasted for years, but life survived in small pockets and eventually recovered. He pulled up more data. Humans evolved about 200,000 years ago during an ice age. Early humans survived by hunting animals much larger and stronger than themselves. Woolly mammoths, cave bears, saber-toothed cats. They used intelligence and cooperation to overcome physical disadvantages. One alien scientist raised a trembling appendage. You hunted creatures larger than yourselves? For food? Well, yes, Alex said. Humans are persistence predators. We can track prey for days, running them to exhaustion. Our endurance is one of our greatest evolutionary advantages. The room had gone deathly quiet. Alex, finally sensing something was wrong, looked at the faces around him. The aliens looked horrified. On our worlds, one scientist said slowly, predators are rare and small. The concept of persistence hunting, of chasing prey until it dies of exhaustion, is something from our darkest myths. You're describing horror stories we tell our young to teach them about theoretical evil. Alex closed his presentation quickly, realizing he had made a terrible mistake. That afternoon, Patricia Kane, the ship's engineer, was touring the station's infrastructure with a group of alien engineers. They were showing her their power systems, their life support, their structural integrity fields. Everything was impressive but seemed overly complicated. Patricia asked questions, trying to understand why they needed so many backup systems and safety measures. This support beam, one engineer explained, pointing to a massive structure, is held in place by a gravity field generator. If the power fails, the beam could shift. Why not just use physical bolts? Patricia asked. That way it's secure even without power. The aliens looked at each other. The beam weighs 3,000 pounds. If it fell, it would be catastrophic. Patricia walked over to the beam and examined it. 3,000 pounds wasn't really that much. On Earth, construction workers handled loads like this regularly with proper equipment. She was about to say so when alarms suddenly blared. Power fluctuation in Section 7, a voice announced over the intercom. Gravity field failure imminent. The alien engineers panicked. Everyone evacuate. The support structures will fail. But Patricia saw the problem immediately. A power coupling had come loose. If she could just reconnect it, the gravity fields would stabilize. She ran toward it. No! It's too dangerous, an engineer shouted. Patricia reached the coupling just as the gravity field failed. A massive beam began to fall. Without thinking, she positioned herself under it, catching it on her shoulders. Her legs nearly buckled from the weight, but she held. Her muscles screamed in protest, but she had done deadlifts heavier than this in the ship's gym. Fix the coupling, she shouted. Hurry! The alien engineers stared in frozen shock. A human was holding up a 3,000-pound beam, with her body, like it was possible. Finally, one engineer snapped out of it and reconnected the coupling. The gravity field reactivated, and the beam lifted back into place. Patricia stepped away, rubbing her shoulders. Okay, that hurt a bit, she admitted. Maybe we should add physical backup supports like I suggested. Nobody responded. Every alien in the section was staring at her like she was a monster. Patricia looked around, confused. What? Any of our dock workers could have done that. It's heavy but manageable if you have the right stance. Within an hour, the video of Patricia holding up the beam was spreading across the concordance networks. News outlets were running stories, with headlines like Death World Species Demonstrates Impossible Strength and Human Holds Weight That Should Crush Her. That evening, there was an emergency medical situation. A Zafrani diplomat collapsed during a meeting, its delicate heart failing. The alien medical team rushed in but seemed hesitant, their movements slow and uncertain. Nicole didn't hesitate. She pushed through the crowd and dropped to her knees beside the dying alien. Its skin was turning gray, its breathing stopped. I need to perform chest compressions, Nicole announced. Does anyone object? The alien doctors looked terrified. You'll crush its ribcage. The pressure required to restart the heart will break every bone. Then it dies, Nicole said flatly. Let me work. She placed her hands on the alien's chest and began compressions. She could feel the fragile ribs flexing under her hands, threatening to break. She had to use a fraction of the force she would use on a human, her movements precise and controlled. 30 compressions. 2 rescue breaths. She repeated the cycle. The alien doctors watched in horror as Nicole performed what they saw as controlled violence on a dying patient. After 2 minutes, the Zafrani gasped. Its heart started beating again. Color returned to its skin. It would live. Nicole sat back, breathing hard. Someone get me an analysis of its cardiac chemistry. We need to prevent this from happening again. The alien medical team just stared. They had watched a human bring someone back from death using methods that seemed brutal and violent. Yet it had worked. The lead doctor finally spoke, its voice shaking. In our medicine, we would never apply such force. The risk of injury is too great. On Earth, we accept some risk to save lives, Nicole said. A broken rib heals. Death doesn't. Our ribs don't heal. The doctor whispered. Nicole felt cold understanding wash over her. These people had built their entire civilization around being fragile. They had technology to compensate for their physical weakness, but they had no concept of resilience, of accepting pain to survive, of enduring injury to help others. That night, the crew of the Liberty Dawn gathered in their quarters. They had seen the news reports, heard the whispers. The galaxy was talking about them, and not in the way they had hoped. They're afraid of us, Lisa said quietly. We came here to make friends, and we're terrifying them. We haven't done anything wrong, Jake protested. We just did what came naturally. That's exactly the problem, Daniel said. He had spent hours talking with Velrith, learning the truth. What comes naturally to us is superhuman by their standards. We're stronger, faster, more resilient. We evolved to survive on a world that would kill any of them in days. To them, we're not just aliens. We're monsters who smile and claim to be peaceful. Karen spoke up. So what do? We can't change what we are. Daniel looked at his crew, at the good people who had come to the stars seeking peace and friendship. We continue with the trials. We show them that yes, we're strong, but we use that strength to protect, not to harm. We prove that Earth made us tough, but it also made us compassionate. Because when you live on a world that's constantly trying to kill you, you learn the value of cooperation and kindness. And if they still reject us, Marcus asked, then we go home knowing we tried. The Concordance Council met in a massive chamber that floated at the center of the station. Representatives from all 17 species gathered to discuss the human problem. Daniel and his crew waited outside, aware that their fate was being decided. Inside, the debate was intense. A Crothy counselor stood on its 6 legs, mandibles clicking nervously. These humans are dangerous. They speak of peace, but their very nature is violent. They evolved by hunting, by fighting, by surviving against impossible odds. How can we trust them? A floating Draenei counselor pulsed with disagreement. They have shown restraint at every turn. The female engineer could have let the beam fall. Instead, she risked injury to protect our people. The doctor saved Ambassador Velrith's aid using methods we lack the courage to attempt. Courage or recklessness? Another counselor challenged. They break bones as children and consider it normal. They fight diseases that would wipe out our populations. They live on a world where the weather itself can kill. They are not like us. That is precisely why we need them, Velrith said, standing to address the council. We have lived in peace for 3,000 years. It is a peace we cherish, but it is a peace we have maintained only because we have faced no true threats. What happens when we do? The chamber fell silent. It was a question no one wanted to answer. Velrith continued. The Void Reavers grow bolder each year. Our defense fleets are designed to deter, not to fight. We have forgotten how to protect ourselves because we have never needed to. These humans, they understand both peace and war. They can teach us to defend what we have built. Before the council could vote, alarms rang throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the chamber. A voice came over the communication system, high-pitched with panic. Emergency! Emergency! Void Reaver attack on station perimeter. Multiple vessels inbound. All defense fleets scramble. The council erupted into chaos. The Void Reavers were pirates and raiders who operated in the lawless outer regions. They had never attacked a core concordance station before. This was unprecedented. Daniel heard the alarms and ran to the nearest command center. His crew followed, their training kicking in automatically. They found concordance officers staring at screens showing 6 hostile ships approaching fast. What's your defense plan? Daniel asked the station commander. a tall droon with crystalline skin. "We're deploying our fleet," the commander said, his voice uncertain. "They should arrive in 20 minutes. 20 minutes? Lisa checked the tactical display. "Those ships will be here in 5. "What about the station's weapons?" "We have deterrent systems. Warning lasers, electromagnetic pulses to disable guidance systems. We're not equipped for actual combat." Daniel felt ice in his stomach. These people had built their civilization on peace, and they had forgotten that sometimes peace needs teeth. The Liberty Dawn wasn't a warship, but it was a human vessel. It had weapons designed for deep space exploration where danger was always possible. "Let me help," Daniel said. "My ship is armed. We can hold them off until your fleet arrives." The Droon commander looked at him with something between hope and fear. "You would fight for us?" "You gave us shelter and friendship," Daniel said simply. "That makes you worth protecting." 5 minutes later, the Liberty Dawn detached from the station and moved to intercept the Void Reavers. The pirate ships were ugly things covered in weapons and armor plating. They had been preying on weak targets for years, expecting easy victories. Marcus sat at the pilot controls, his hands steady. "Hostile vessels are hailing us, Captain, demanding we move aside or be destroyed." "Tell them no," Daniel said calmly. "This station is under our protection." The lead pirate ship fired a warning shot across their bow. Marcus didn't flinch. "Shields holding." That was their intimidation attempt. "Return fire," Daniel ordered, targeting their weapon systems. "Disable, don't destroy." The Liberty Dawn's railguns spoke. The magnetically accelerated projectiles crossed the distance in seconds, striking with precision. The lead pirate ship's main weapon array exploded. The ship veered off, trailing sparks. The other 5 ships attacked together. Energy weapons and missiles filled the space between them. Marcus threw the Liberty Dawn into evasive maneuvers that would have killed most aliens from the G-forces alone. The human crew handled it easily, their bodies built to endure. 2 more ships disabled, Lisa reported. "The remaining 3 are trying to flank us." "Gary, take a boarding team," Daniel ordered. "It's time to end this." Lieutenant Gary Foster had been waiting for those words. He led a team of 6 crew members, all trained in security procedures. They launched in a shuttle heading for the nearest pirate vessel. The pirates probably thought they were safe inside their ship. They learned otherwise when Gary's team cut through their airlock like it was paper. Human cutting torches operated at temperatures that could melt through materials the Concordants considered impossible to breach. The pirates inside were a mix of species, outcasts and criminals from various worlds. They were armed and dangerous, but they had never fought humans before. Gary moved through the corridors with his team using non-lethal tactics. Stun weapons, physical restraint, tactical coordination. The pirates tried to fight back, but they were used to enemies who couldn't take punishment. A human wearing light armor was practically invincible to their weapons. One pirate, a large reptilian creature, charged at Gary with a blade. Gary sidestepped, grabbed the alien's arm, and used its own momentum to flip it onto the ground. The pirate stayed down, stunned by the casual display of strength. Within 10 minutes, Gary's team had secured the entire ship. 27 pirates were restrained, and the vessel was under control. The other pirate ships, seeing this impossible defeat, tried to flee. "Let them go," Daniel said. "We made our point." The Void Reavers jumped to faster than light speed, running from a single human ship that had fought off their entire attack force and boarded one of their vessels with a handful of crew members. When the Concordant's defense fleet finally arrived, they found the Liberty Dawn floating calmly beside the captured pirate ship. Gary and his team were bringing the prisoners aboard the station, each human escorting 4 or 5 aliens without apparent effort. The fleet commander, a Zephrani named Corthan, stared at the scene in disbelief. "You captured an entire pirate vessel? With 6 people?" "7 counting me," Gary corrected. "And yes, sir. They surrendered once they realized resistance was pointless." The station erupted in celebration and shock. News of the human defense spread through the Concordance within hours. The species that everyone feared had just proven they would fight to protect others. The Death World survivors had become protectors, but there was another side to the story spreading through the galaxy. Videos of the battle showed human combat tactics, human strength, human endurance. One clip showed Gary lifting 2 pirates at once, carrying them like children. Another showed Marcus pulling 8G turns that should have killed anyone aboard. The Concordants had spent 3,000 years trying to forget that the universe could be dangerous. Humans had just reminded them in the most dramatic way possible. That evening, Ambassador Velrith came to see Daniel privately. The ambassador's skin was swirling with complex colors, emotions that Daniel couldn't read. "Your people are remarkable," Velrith said quietly, "and terrifying. The council has been debating for hours. Some want to reject your application immediately. They say you're too dangerous, too violent." "And what do you say?" Daniel asked. "I say we need you," Velrith replied. "But need is not the same as trust. You fight so easily, so effectively. How do we know you won't turn that strength against us someday?" Daniel thought carefully before answering. "On Earth we have a saying, strong fences make good neighbors. We learned to be strong because we had to. But we also learned that strength without compassion is tyranny. We could have destroyed those pirate ships. Instead, we disabled them. We could have hurt the prisoners. Instead, we restrained them carefully. We're strong, yes, but we choose to be gentle. A choice that must be made every day," Velrith observed. "Yes," Daniel agreed. "Every single day. That's what makes it meaningful." Velrith was quiet for a long moment. "The council will vote tomorrow. I cannot predict the outcome. You have proven yourselves capable warriors, but many fear what that means. We have built our civilization on peace, not strength." "Maybe you need both," Daniel suggested. "Peace is the goal. Strength is what protects it. You've been lucky for 3,000 years, but luck runs out. The Void Reavers proved that today." After Velrith left, Daniel stood alone looking out at the stars. His crew had come here hoping to join a peaceful civilization. Instead, they had become the thing everyone feared. The strong ones, the fighters, the survivors. But maybe that was okay. Maybe the galaxy needed someone who remembered that peace was precious because it was fragile, someone who had lived through violence and chosen compassion, someone strong enough to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Tomorrow, the council would decide. Tonight, Daniel would trust that doing the right thing would be enough. Across the station, in the captured pirate ship, the prisoners were being processed. One pirate, more observant than the others, spoke to his cellmate. "Did you see how they moved? How they fought? And they were holding back. I could tell." The morning of the council vote arrived with unusual silence on the station. Daniel woke early and found most of his crew already awake, unable to sleep. They gathered in the common area, drinking coffee that Karen had managed to synthesize from available ingredients. It tasted terrible, but it was familiar. "Whatever happens today," Daniel said to his assembled crew, "I want you to know I'm proud of what we've accomplished. We came here representing humanity, and we showed them who we really are. Strong, yes, but also kind. Capable of violence, but choosing peace. Do you think they'll accept us?" Nicole asked. "Honestly? I don't know," Daniel admitted. "We scared them. That much is clear. The question is whether they can see past their fear." A message arrived on Daniel's communicator. Ambassador Velrith requested his presence at the council chamber. The vote was about to begin. The council chamber looked different than before. It was packed with observers from all 17 species, all watching the humans with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and hope. Daniel walked to the center of the room, feeling the weight of every stare. The head counselor, an ancient Zephrani named Elthros, spoke first. Its skin was almost colorless with age, but its voice was strong. "Captain Daniel Morgan of Earth, you and your crew have undergone the trials of temperament. We have observed your species' physical capabilities, medical resilience, cultural history, and response to crisis. We have never encountered a species quite like yours." Daniel stood straight, saying nothing. There was nothing to say until the judgment came. "You are strong beyond our understanding," Elthros continued. "You survive injuries that would kill us. You endure conditions that would destroy us. You evolved on a world so hostile that we classify it as uninhabitable. By every measure we have, humans should not be peaceful. You should be conquerors, tyrants, destroyers." Daniel felt his heart sink. This was rejection. "Yet you are none of those things," Elthros said, and the tone changed. "You held back your strength to avoid harming us. You risked yourselves to save our people. You fought to protect our station when you could have fled to safety. You captured enemies without killing them when killing would have been easier. You are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered, and you choose every day not to be dangerous." The chamber was absolutely silent. "The council has debated for many hours," Elthros said. "Some members fear your strength. Others see your potential. But we have come to a decision." The ancient being paused, and Daniel held his breath. Humanity is hereby granted provisional membership in the Galactic Concordance, Elthros announced. But not as a standard member species. Daniel felt confusion mixed with relief. Not a standard member? What did that mean? Velrith stepped forward, its skin glowing with warm colors. Captain Morgan, the Concordance has existed for 3,000 years in peace. We have built a civilization based on cooperation, knowledge, and mutual respect. But we have also become complacent. We forgot that peace must sometimes be defended. Elthros continued. We propose a new role created specifically for humanity. You will be our guardian species. You will train our defense forces. You will protect our peaceful worlds from those who would harm them. You will be the strength that allows our peace to endure. But, Velrith added, this role comes with responsibility. You will be monitored. You will be held to the highest standards. Any abuse of your strength will result in immediate expulsion from the Concordance. You must prove every day that your power serves peace, not personal gain. Daniel felt emotion well up inside him. It wasn't the simple acceptance they had hoped for, but it was something better. A purpose. A place where humanity's unique nature could be an asset rather than a threat. On behalf of humanity, I accept, Daniel said formally. We will be the guardians you need. We will protect the peace you have built. And we will prove that strength and compassion are not enemies but partners. The chamber erupted in a mixture of relief and celebration. Some species cheered. Others looked uncertain. But the decision was made. Humanity had a place among the stars. Over the following weeks, plans were made. The Liberty Dawn would become the first human Concordance embassy. Daniel and his crew would stay to establish protocols for future human integration. Earth would be contacted with the news, and volunteers would be recruited for the Concordance Defense Initiative. Jake Coleman found himself training Concordance security forces in basic physical combat. He had to completely redesign the training, because what was normal for humans was impossible for most species. He focused on tactics, coordination, and the importance of protecting civilians. Nicole Hayes worked with Concordance medical staff, teaching them aggressive intervention techniques while respecting their physical limitations. She developed new medical protocols that combined human methods with alien technology, creating treatments more effective than either species had alone. Patricia Kane led teams designing new station structures with both human engineering principles and Concordance technology. The result was stations that were both beautiful and practically indestructible by accident. Karen Phillips became a bridge between human and alien communication, helping both sides understand each other's very different perspectives on everything from art to philosophy. One day, Marcus Webb was teaching alien pilots about human flight tactics. A young Crothy pilot asked him a question that had been on many alien minds. Why do humans take such risks? Why push yourselves so hard? Marcus thought about it. Where we come from, risk is just part of life. Earth taught us that if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. But it also taught us that we're stronger together than alone. Every human achievement came from someone willing to try something difficult or dangerous so that others wouldn't have to. You do dangerous things to protect others? The pilot asked. That's what guardians do, Marcus said with a smile. 6 months after their arrival, Daniel stood with Velrith on an observation deck, watching Earth appear on the main screen. They were preparing to make the journey home to establish formal diplomatic relations. Are you worried about how Earth will react to this news? Velrith asked. A little, Daniel admitted. We came hoping to join an alliance of equals. Instead, we're being asked to be protectors. Some people might see that as being used. And what do you see? Daniel watched his home planet slowly rotate on the screen, the blue and white marble that had forged humanity in its harsh crucible. I see a purpose. For all of human history, we've struggled with what to do with our strength. We've hurt each other, conquered each other, fought endless wars. Maybe this is our chance to use that strength for something better. You really believe your people will accept this role? Velrith asked. I know we will, Daniel said confidently. Because that's what humans do. We protect those who can't protect themselves. We stand up to bullies. We fight for the underdog. It's not always been pretty and we've made terrible mistakes, but at our core, humans believe in protecting the weak and helping those in need. Velrith's skin glowed with warm golden light. Then perhaps the galaxy needed a species like yours, not to conquer, but to remind us all that peace is not the absence of strength, but the proper use of it. News of humanity's new role spread across Earth. Reactions were mixed at first. Some were proud that humanity would be guardians. Others worried about the responsibility. But slowly a consensus formed. This was what humans did best: protecting others, standing guard, being strong so others could be safe. Recruitment centers opened in every major city. Volunteers came forward: soldiers, doctors, engineers, teachers, people who wanted to be part of humanity's greatest adventure, not conquering the stars but protecting them. 2 years later, the first human guardian fleet launched from Earth. 20 ships crewed by volunteers who had trained in both human and concordance methods. They weren't conquerors or warriors. They were protectors. Ambassador Velrith attended the launch ceremony on Earth. Standing beside human dignitaries, the alien looked up at the ships preparing to depart. "You know," Velrith said, "when we first detected your world, many in the concordance wanted to avoid contact. They said a species from a death world would be too dangerous. I argued that we should take the risk. Having regrets?" A human general asked with a smile. "Quite the opposite," Velrith replied. "I'm grateful. You did terrify us at first. You still do sometimes. But you also give us hope. For 3,000 years we've been afraid to be strong because we confused strength with violence. You've shown us that real strength is knowing when not to use it." Daniel Morgan, now formerly Ambassador Morgan, stood watching the ship's launch. His crew was scattered across various roles now. Jake training defense forces, Nicole revolutionizing concordance medicine, Patricia designing the next generation of stations, Karen teaching at the new Concordance Human Cultural Center, Marcus leading the Guardian Fleet. They had come to the stars seeking peace and friendship. They had found it, but not in the way they expected. They had become something more important than friends. They had become protectors, guardians, the strong right hand that allowed peace to flourish. And across the galaxy, on 17 different worlds, people who had been afraid of humans began to feel something else: safety. Because somewhere out there in the dark, the humans were standing guard.